84 days, 12 weeks, that's nearly 3 months. That's how long it's taken to complete the Artist's Way. So in my last video, I talked about what's involved in the Artist's Way and is it worth doing. I showed the check-ins and the activities and the stuff that I was learning over the first 6 weeks of that 12-week journey. And whereas last time I was talking about what's involved in the Artist's Way and if it's worth doing, this time I wanted to talk about completing it, actually getting to the end. I've spoken to a lot of people who've started the process and not found their way to the end, and I think sometimes they feel a bit discouraged by it. It's been interesting revisiting the check-ins that I recorded and the stuff that I was learning with a little bit more objectivity in hindsight. It made me ask myself the question, if I were to do it again, how would I do it differently? And I'll offer a few of those thoughts when I share with you weeks 7 to 12. I didn't sleep very well last night, and I can't be bothered with any of this Artist's Way stuff. It just feels this week like a list of more stuff for me to do. Now I've got to go on an artist date. He doesn't want to go. I don't even know what he wants to do. I don't think anything's going to make him happy. Don't think anything is going to make him happy. I had ideas about going to the cinema, but I can't be bothered. I'm too tired. I just want to go home. Maybe there's something else I can do that's a little, you know, a little easier. Maybe I can lower the bar a bit. But otherwise, like creatively, this week's felt good. I felt really inspired to write for the enjoyment and the way of showing up, of just appreciating being in the writing. And out of that I wrote a draft script for the short film that I've been talking to a friend about, which I was really pleased with and I really like doing.
Hey, jack off, you can't walk down the middle of the street. I can walk down the middle of the street if I like. There's goddamn cars everywhere and traffic and stuff like that. I can do what I want. I'm gonna walk down the center of the street. Shut up. Beep, beep. Get lost. I'm walking here.
So I did have an artist date this week after last week's failure. I took myself to the cinema to see the remastered version of E.T., the extraterrestrial, which I realise I've never actually seen, despite thinking I have seen. Still have this feeling of like, I'm not being adventurous enough, but you know, I've just got to work in the context of where I am. And last week I really felt like I wanted to have the comfort and joy of going to do something I like doing. When I sat down with my snacks on the sofa in front of the screen, I felt, you know, really excited and gleeful. So it was a nourishing thing to do. So I had an intention all this week to try and keep hold of a sense of possibility. I felt a great sense of possibility over the last 2 or 3 weeks, really thanks to a lot of this work. And I don't want to let that go. Part of that possibility thing is recognising that not everything that feels possible has to become real, and it certainly doesn't have to become real now. There's value in the potential of things as much as the reality sometimes. 2 months now I've been doing this. I might be in a place of diminishing returns with it. I feel like I've had what I needed from this, and maybe I'm missing the point. The idea of having to find something interesting and fun to do. She's asking for this. In the check-in, she's saying, did you keep an emphasis on fun? Julia, that is too high an expectation. I have not felt this week like having fun. Yes, I'm aware of how that sounds. I know that's probably problematic, that there's not enough space in my week for fun. But that's how it's felt this week. But mostly just sat in a coffee shop, eating a pastry and reading a book, and that was about my level, and I did enjoy it. And then I met up with a friend afterwards about a short film that we're making, and that felt like fun. I don't think I'm very fun at the moment. Something I've realised in the last few weeks is that when you're stuck with something, a project, that considering the possibility that the thing is dead and might never happen is often a necessary part of allowing that the opportunity to find a new way forward. Did you do your artist date this week? Let yourself do an extra one. And I've written here, no Julia, no. I did do an artist date. I went to an improv comedy night that someone I know was in. Even though I was knackered at the end of the week, going along there was really fun. I saw some people I knew, had some chats. Yeah, just laughed. And it was just really enjoyable. So I'm really glad I went. So some of the tasks this week, which I did this morning, have been about self-destructive habits and I guess, you know, yeah, how do you get in your own way and maybe sort of setting some sort of boundaries around those behaviours. And for me, it's a lot about not prioritising my creative practice and self-care and rest around that. And most of the time that's not a problem until I get to a point where there's a lot going on, like this month, and it's easy in that space to make what others are asking of me the priority, because it's obvious, isn't it, when people are asking you for things and, you know, you'll please them if you get it done, and the fact they're asking for it makes the priority clear and present, and in that space it's easiest to deprioritise the thing that only you want to do, that only you have a sense of it being important about. You know, at the moment it would be easy for me to say, okay, I'm not going to try and film this short film this weekend, which is my current plan, because no one else is going to miss that, really. I will. It's tough in the busyness of things to hold your ground for yourself, for your own practice and what's important to you.
Today is today is filming day. I'm really excited, and look at the weather that we've got. That makes it a slightly different proposition. I imagined it being sunny when I wrote the script, and the universe does what it does, and I'm thinking about it like the weather is a character, right? The weather just arrives as it is on the day, and that will be part of the thing. So let's work with it. I mean, ask me again in 8 hours how I feel about that, but
we made it happen. We spent 2 days running around Brighton filming, which was great. No artist date, and I haven't done any of the tasks for this week. And I just kind of thought, well, I know I'm not giving the process its due attention, but on the other hand, I am making this thing which has arisen because of the process, and I just want to be making. Any synchronicity this week, what was it? So this has been a bit of a gift for me, I think, in this whole thing. The idea of synchronicity, and that the universe is offering answers, opportunities out there that aren't maybe necessarily obvious, but just being a bit more open to the idea of what's in front of you. I really love that idea. I find it very easy to get caught up in my own sort of ideas of how things should be, and that invitation to take a step back and go, well, what other ways are there towards that end?
Artist Way, week 12 check-in. The Artist Way is over. It's done.
It's done, Sam, it's gone.
And I'm not at home. I'm on holiday now. I started the whole Artist Way thing when I was in a place of needing to recover and feel like I was paying attention to the whole creative enterprise without necessarily having the energy to be making stuff. And to that end, it's been really, really helpful. In the last few weeks, though, it's kind of been overtaken by actually wanting to make stuff. Last weekend, we shot a short film. Back on my daily creative writing every day. And also day before yesterday, I finally submitted an application for Arts Council Developing Your Creative Practice funding to do some writing. Feels like, oh, that was an achievement. So I'm feeling really good. When I get home, I'm sure I'll have a look back through things and there might be more to say or to reflect on. But for right now, I'm just gonna go and enjoy my holiday among the yachts of the super rich in the Côte d'Azur. Lights have just come on. Just had a nice conversation with a chap who was an illustrator who noticed this book and was asking about it. Turns out he's trying to reimagine his creative practice and start making art for him. That was an inspiring little conversation. One of the things I noticed looking back at those check-in videos is, my God, I look tired. Like, I just look increasingly haggard over the few weeks. And I want to say it's not to do with doing the artist's way. I think it was all of the other stuff I had going on in my life at the time, a lot of work and other creative stuff. And it is interesting to think that actually, if you're doing the artist's way because you want to jumpstart your creative practice or deepen it in some way, then actually a byproduct of that is you're going to start wanting to do things a bit more again. That was my experience, and I decided to sort of get out of my own way as far as that was concerned. But it did mean that stuff was piling on, so I never did return to the uncompleted tasks about reflecting on the overall process. But I guess that is what this is, really. So if I were to do it again, what would I do differently? First off, I tell myself, be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up about not doing it right or not doing enough or not doing all of it. I did promise myself at the beginning that I'd do all of the tasks. I think realistically that's probably not possible every single week. And I did notice, looking back on those reflections, that I was really hard on sort of saying, oh, I think I should be more adventurous, I should be doing this, should be doing that. And actually, looking back, the stuff I was doing was good. It was great. It was more than I would have been doing otherwise, and it was beneficial. Second, new possibilities beget new realities. By that I mean, if suddenly you find yourself inspired and want to go and do things, go and do them. Like, I felt like I wanted to go and make this short film, and I did that. I could have instead spent the time working my way through all the tasks, but I felt inspired and something popped up in the moment and I ran with it. And I think a lot of the time I actually probably overthink a lot of my creative projects, so the idea that I could just be spontaneous and go with something was really freeing. So don't deny yourself the opportunity to do that. Third, be prepared to let old ways of thinking and ideas go. That kind of ties into the thing that I was saying about sometimes you have to let the idea you have die in order to sort of find a new way to go about it. And it's also ideas and stories about yourself, who you are as a creative, what you should be doing, what you've always done, what you really want to be doing. You have to let stuff burn in the fire. Fourth, don't ignore what you enjoy or what you need. I noticed a few times on the artist dates, for example, that I was sort of saying, oh, I should be doing something more adventurous or something, but I really need this. That's fine. Like, if you need to rest, then that's probably the most beneficial thing that you can be doing. Self-care has to come first, right? And if it's like a choice between doing X thing that I find boring or this other task that seems really interesting, go and do the interesting thing. You know, this is your life. You shouldn't be like giving yourself more homework to do. Fifth, try everything once. And then if you don't enjoy it, then stop. Don't flog a dead horse. And it's difficult to know sometimes, isn't it? Because you kind of think, well, I just need to push through this resistance and maybe I'll get to something. But if you continually come up against this feeling that it's not enjoyable, then life's too short. 6, there is merit to all endeavour. This is an investment in you and your creative spirit and yourself. Whatever you do above what you normally do is going to be beneficial. It's going to be additive. You'll learn something from it or enjoy doing it. And if there's stuff that you don't get to, you can always come back to it again. I've heard people revisiting the artist's way multiple times, and it would be interesting to revisit it and see how I respond to it, what I take from it then. The book is always there on my shelf to go back to. Fundamentally, you are worth the investment of your time and effort and resources to nurture yourself and your creative spirit. And whatever you do will inspire what happens next. That was the case for me.